Success is by design. Also, stay on your G's. God, goals, grace, greatness, and gratitude. Timothy Klund, a.k.a. TK. My guest on this episode of Passing the Torch is a United States Air Force veteran and CEO and founder of Verve Systems LLC, which is focused on products that enhance performance, protection, wellness, and recovery. He has worked for over a decade in the mouthguard and professional sports marketing industries and is an honorary member of the NFL Players Association. He is a passionate supporter of our veteran athletic and causes related to nonprofits. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome someone who died 4 times, is dangerously anointed, an Air Force veteran, someone who is recognized as one of the top leaders as a relationship specialist in the world of sports marketing, and is a 2-time Big Brother of the Year award recipient. Passing the Torch with Timothy Klund, a.k.a. TK, starts now. First and foremost, welcome to the show.
What's
Thanks
going
for
on,
joining
brother?
me, TK.
Yeah, thanks for having me, pal. Great.
Of
Great
course,
to be on
man.
here.
Like
Air Force boys hanging out. It's awesome.
That's right. Yeah, thanks again. This kind of started last summer. I had Nate Boyer on my podcast, and that led me to Scott Husing, and then obviously we got linked up, and we were able to connect at the Celebrity Softball Classic, which we'll talk about at some point. But first and foremost, why is life great right now?
Man, even my bad days are phenomenal, to be honest with you. Like I don't get too overly excited about wins. I don't ever get down about losses. I just kind of steady Eddie through. I just enjoy every minute of it. And so for me personally, like every day is just phenomenal. Like I every single day, at the end of the day, no matter good or bad, I can definitely get at least a handful of wins that I've got throughout the day. So, which always outweighs the maybe some of the negative things that happen during the day. So, you know what? Life is always good.
Speaking of wins, how was Radcliffe FC?
We're getting there. We've hit a little slump lately. It's been a little disappointing. I mean, we've got a team that could beat anybody, and we have been beating everybody the first half. We're still in top 5, thank goodness, and we're still in for the playoffs in our division and league over there. But yeah, it's frustrating that we've had a couple losses that on teams we beat earlier in the season, and they're not just beating us; they came in and cleaned our clock. So I think part of it is too. At that level that they're at, you lose 1 and you're like, no biggie. You lose 2, you're kind of like, and then you lose 3 and you're like, oh my God. Now I think everybody's, I talked to my brother over there, Marcus, and who's the owner of Radcliffe. And, and I told him part of it is, man, I think everybody from probably him on down are overthinking everything. And we just need to get back to having some fun and relax and enjoy. And, what's the worst thing that can happen is a loss. So outside of that, just go enjoy and have fun and just take it one game by game. So I have no doubt they'll get back on track. I mean, we've got the best gappers over there and our managers and players. So they'll get back on track. They just need to get up from between their ears, get refocused and have some fun.
Speaking of just, one of the just great times, one of the best times for me in calendar year 2025 was heading to the DFW area. But yeah, please discuss the Celebrity Softball Classic.
Yeah, Celebrity Softball Classic is pretty interesting. I do got to correct something on the front end. So I was Big Brother of the Year, the new Horizon Big Brother of the Year in 2004. I was on their board for almost 10 years, but I was only a one-time Big Brother of the Year.
Oh, my mistake.
Okay, but yeah, in 2014, I think I was on like 10 to 12 boards for different foundations, charities. And my wife and I were going to all the black tie galas, and we'd done that for over 10 years. And one of the final ones of the year was the Lone Survivor Foundation with Marcus Luttrell. And at his foundation, I was finally just like, I can't do any more of these black tie galas. Like, I'm completely burned out on these. It's like Groundhog Day, same thing over and over. And we all had a discussion about, we need to do something fun. And I was like, why don't we do a celebrity softball game? Now, I played, Air Force softball when I was in the Philippines, and then, in Colorado Springs at Peterson, and then was an alternate on the All Air Force team and got to play in some of the tournaments with them. And so I was like, well, with the celebrities that we have and the veterans that we have, why don't we do a celebrity softball game to kick it off? And so the first one we did was in Houston with the Lone Survivor Foundation. And it was awesome. It turned out great. And then they had some change over there, and the new executive director he was, just making things complicated. And it was like, you know what, we're going to go a different direction. And then from there, Roger Clemens and I were having a conversation. Then we did University of Oklahoma versus University of Texas, donated money back to Lone Survivor Foundation through that. And then a week before that game, Clemens called me and was like, hey, what do you think about Matthew and Toby playing? And, I was scattered all over the place. Matthew and Toby who? I mean, we had all the greatest, athletes from UT and OU playing. I was like, Matthew and Toby who? And he's like, McConaughey and Toby Keith. I'm like, oh, yeah, those two guys can play. So those three guys, after the first game, kind of called me and said, hey, why don't the four of us team up and raise money for our foundations, and you can donate to Lone Survivor or whatever charity you want to donate to, and we'll roll up our sleeves and really make this thing big. And we did. And then after the 2018 game, all my celebrities, guys and girls, started calling who weren't in the OUT game, going, hey, hold on a second. We started this with the Lone Survivor game. We won the game. So 2019, we did two games. We did one to help with Carry the Load with Clint Bruce, and in Memorial Day weekend when they Carry the Load has their final walk into Dallas. And so we teamed up with them on that. And then we had our OUT game, and then COVID hit and killed everything. And then at the end of 2020, getting ready for 2021, Frisco Rough Riders weren't sure if they could even have events in 21 because minor league baseball at that time was still under COVID rules. And so the Globe Life, the Texas Rangers, they called and said, hey, why don't you bring your game here? So 21 and 22, we actually did our game there. OUUT game ended up just dying off because we couldn't get Toby and Matthew's schedules realigned, and it just kind of fell off at that point. And then we just had an all-in. We had celebrities, veterans, co-ed celebrities, co-ed veterans from a celebrity stature start playing, and it just exploded. And then we kind of threw in a Friday night party, and then we had a pool party, and then now it's just evolved to what we're doing today. And yeah, this year, what we used to do is donate. We would pick a charity for each team and donate a certain amount. And at the end of the second year of the Globe Life game, as my wife and I were walking off the field, she was like, this just doesn't make sense. Almost a $250,000 event weekend that your name's on. We're putting the risk out there to raise 20 grand. This doesn't make any sense. You can raise 20 grand at a happy hour. And we started rethinking, like, how can we do more, help more with this platform? Because really what this platform does, it provides access to a lot of charities and individuals that are doing good things. And that's really what I like about this weekend. It opens up a lot of doors for everybody, right? So we had so many charities calling and foundations wanting to get involved. And so what we decided to do is said, okay, look, you have to go raise $10,000 on your own. That's the minimum to get in. You get to keep 100%. We don't want any of your money. We just want to see that you're actually putting the work in on your behalf to basically buy your way into this game. And then what you can do is whoever donates to you, you could bring them to the celebrity weekend with you. And then you guys can have fun and enjoy the weekend with us. And, we'll help give exposure to your foundation, your charity. You're going to meet a lot of great people. And so same thing, like charities that were having golf tournaments or black tie events. There's not a lot of ROI for a sponsor to come in and do a golf tournament. You're looking at a $50,000 title sponsorship. They're coming in because they want to help that foundation and cause. But at the end of the day, what is really your ROI for that 50 grand? There's not a lot. So if as a foundation now, you come in and help me with my golf tournament, I can bring you to a celebrity weekend for 3 days of fun, mix and mingle with celebrities and athletes.
It feels like a family reunion. I mean, it's family
there's
reunion.
hundreds of everybody there, right? So that's what really kicked that thing off and really has taken it to another level of people really rolling up their sleeves, putting the work, and then bringing the people that give back to them. It's a way to reward the people that help them out all year long, right? And coming to the weekend. That's what makes it fun and great.
Yeah, why does it feel like a family reunion?
I think because everybody who's been coming, that's the problem with this game. Once you come for the weekend, you can't get rid of anybody. I mean, you experienced for the first time yourself last year, and and it's one of those, I'll never miss this event again once you come.
Yeah, exactly. I already put it on my calendar for this year.
Yeah, I mean everybody does. That's why we already sent it out early because all the celebrities are going, hey, tell me early. Jimmy Mack is my all-time favorite player. He's the reason why I wear number 9, the reason why I always want to play quarterback.
Yeah.
And it took years to get him there. And the first year he came was not last year, but the year before. So what was that, 24? And by noon, he flew in on Friday morning. Wasn't overly happy. By noon on Saturday, he was like, "Hey kid, I will never miss this weekend again. This is one of the funnest weekends I've ever been a part of." I said, "Bro, we haven't even got to the game yet." So he actually flew in a day early this year just so we could hang out and have more fun and kind of enjoy it. But um,
Yeah.
and he's like, "I'll never miss it." He's already scheduled. He's already on his books for this year. And
Am
this
I
year,
invited again? I
oh,
hope that I'm
100%,
invited.
bro, 100%. Once you're in, you're in, and unless you end up working your way out by being an idiot or something. Outside of that,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, once you're here, you're here. But that's kind of the problem with it because everybody comes, we can't get rid of them. So the teams, they always constantly grow every year. I mean, I think we had about 100 people per team this year.
I was like, gee.
Yeah, I mean, probably about out of the 100, maybe only about 30, 35 people even want to play. Most people just want to come, get
Socialize.
their,
Yeah.
go get their content, meet a lot of great people, as you know. I mean, there's so many celebrities and so many great, what I would consider celebrity veterans and American heroes there. You honestly can't meet everybody. It's my event. I know everybody there, and there's people that come that I'm looking at pictures later on, weeks after the event, and I see somebody. I'm like, they were there, and I'll call them like, dude, you came to the weekend. Like, oh man, you have so many
Yeah.
people. I didn't want to bother you. And I'm like, dude, you got to come bother me. Like, man, there's so many people you can't even see everybody almost most of the time. So, but that's what makes it fun. And as you know, on a Friday night party, we had 1,000 people in there, kicking it, having fun, just having a good time. Then we had the pool party, which had a few hundred easily. Some people go sightseeing on Saturday before the game and doing different things, but then everybody comes back for the game that night. And this year is kind of special because we're actually doing it on 9/11 weekend, and this is the 25th anniversary of 9/11. And I would love to say that I was smart enough to like, hey, let's do it this weekend. But the reality is the hotel and the field couldn't get lined up in October. And I finally they're like, well, maybe we do it in November. I was like, let's go back to the beginning of September. Tell me every weekend that you have availability. And the stadium and the hotel both came back, said 9/12 we have that week. Yeah, that's a good weekend for us. And great, book it. And then I ended up getting off. I was like 9/12, like hold on, 9/11 would be our party. What year is this for 9/11? Wow, this 25th anniversary. So the
Yeah.
good Lord just threw that in my lap, honestly. I'd love to again say that I was smart enough and brilliant enough to figure that one out, but that was just a good Lord throwing us a bone on there. But now we've really got some exciting things for that weekend this year compared to what we've done in the past too. So it's pretty exciting. Well, I'm looking forward to it already.
Yeah, it's great. I'm looking forward to it as well. And of course, the legend Don Graves was the star of the show.
Yeah,
I
he'll be
want to
101
transition.
on May 3rd, and he's not slowing down. I usually have lunch. I haven't had lunch with him since before the holidays, and then I think he's in D.C. right now. But we usually have lunch about every couple of weeks. He'll call me and like, hey, you want to have lunch this Friday? Yeah, I'll come get you. And but yeah, he's not slowing down. So I
It's
fully
good.
expect him to be there again this year, unless the good Lord decides to take him home. But if not, he'll be there for sure. He's not
Yeah,
slowing
no,
down.
he's great. He's great. I want to transition a little bit to more about you specifically. Do you still go back each year and talk to your high school or the high school football team?
Yeah, for the most part. Last year I didn't. I think I was in England. Usually when I go in October, but yeah, usually they invite me every year to come back and speak to my high school, to the football players there, and it's a great joy for me because I love speaking to those young men in that community in Scott City, Missouri,
Yeah.
southeast Missouri, just below Cape Girardeau. But yeah, it's always a pleasure to go home and talk to those young men.
And then something. So I've listened to you. I've probably listened to if you've done a podcast in the past 8 years. I think I've listened to it. So I've been prepping for this episode for
Okay.
yeah, a while. And some things I know you kind of talk about a lot in this, naturally in every one of those episodes. So I want to do a little bit, try to do something a little bit different. But
Okay.
one thing I noted was that you moved to Missouri after kindergarten, and that you started first grade and graduated in the same building.
Yeah.
If yeah. What does spending your entire childhood in one building teach you about loyalty? And also, what does it cost? Because my impression of you, the vibe I get from you is that you are very loyal. So yeah, this is just something I was thinking about. So again, what does spending your entire childhood in one building teach you about loyalty? And then what does that cost you?
Well, number one, yeah, it is funny because at Scott City, when I was going through in the 70s and 80s, you literally start on one end of kindergarten and you work your way through elementary. And the only thing separates the elementary side and the high school side is our gymnasium and cafeteria. And they've added a few more buildings on to our school now, but it's still the same process. You know, you start on
Yeah.
one end and graduate the other end. But we do have a little bit more kids than when that are there than when I was there. But the thing is, it's kind of like working for a living, right? Like you spend more time if you're in a corporate America, you're spending more time with people you work with than probably your family for the most part. And growing up with all the same kids from kindergarten, first grade, all the way through, um, they're family, right? I mean, I was just talking to one of my buddies. I mean, his mom babysitted me and my little brother when I was in first grade and second grade. So I talk to people back home all the time because to me they are family. We have a little thing in Scott City that a friend of mine just told me a few years ago. Like, you ever remember Scott City Mafia? I was like, I don't remember that term. And he's like, oh yeah, the football guys created in the late 70s, early 80s, and I'm surprised you don't know about it. So when I go back to the school, I always tell them about SC Mafia, about protect the family. And the reason why they created that is because we're about 2 hours north of Memphis. So a lot of those, and we're all Elvis fans. So a lot of those guys started because of Memphis Mafia. They started doing Scott City Mafia. And so now we do SC Mafia, but it really is about protecting the family and, just taking care of each other. And,
Yeah.
Probably the most disappointing thing for me is seeing some of my friends that haven't done very well and aren't doing very well in life that have so much potential and talent. It absolutely just kills my heart thinking about where we were in school and kind of just some of the bad breaks they've had in life. And then on the flip side is so great to see a bunch of everybody else have went off and done amazing things in their life. So, but yeah, I care about all those people as much as I care about my own brothers with the Klund last name. So
No, that's great. And I thought that was just an interesting fun fact or nugget about you. Something else that really caught my eye was, and I've read your book as well. I came across where you share a story about a CEO once stopped you in a hallway and asked for your three B's before he'd give you time. At what point did you realize that asking for someone's time is really asking for a piece of their life?
that moment, probably, I was at Radio Shack. It's probably 2002 or three, somewhere around there. They had come to me, asked me if maybe I could get some of my athletes with a project they were working on. I spent some time talking to the VPs at that point, and I'd come in a little bit early, a few days early, maybe a week early, and just kind of do a final touch up before I met with him. And they just got their new building. It's funny because they were showing me how you could watch TV on. They had a phone that you could watch TV on, and it was blowing my mind because I still had the Nokia little small brick phone at that point, and
Yeah.
they're really like, "This is coming," and it was amazing. But anyway, we were walking down the hall, and we just happened to bump into him, and one of the VPs was like, "Hey, sir, this is TK. He's the one meeting with you next week on the athletes, blah blah blah," and he was like, "Nice to meet." I mean, just stone cold, straight face, "Nice to meet you." And he goes, have they explained my three B's when you come to meet me? And I was like, no, sir. And I kind of thought he might be getting ready to like punchline me or something, to be honest with you. I thought it was a
Oh,
joke.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm kind of like, probably had this dumb smirk on my face. And he was like, well, three B's when you come and meet me is be quick, be brilliant, be gone. And if you're in there more than 10 minutes, you probably have done something wrong, son. And that's when I was like, oh, this guy's not punchlining me. So I don't know what look I had on my face, probably stunned, honestly. And he was like, you got it? And, yes, sir. And great. See you next week. Shook my hand and walked off. And then I was like, damn near had to go check my pants because it was kind of overly intimidating. And I think I was 31, 32 at the time and probably about 32. And yeah, I was just kind of like, okay. And went in there. And I think I was probably 7 minutes into it. Just in and out and just about as blunt and quick that you could be. And yeah, he said, okay, is that it? Yes, sir. And he's like, great, thanks for coming by, and didn't even stand up, shake my hand or anything. I just got up and walked out. And VP was out there. He's like, what do you think? I go, well, I appreciate your time. I don't think it did very well. And then a couple of days later, the VP called me and said, hey, do you like NASCAR? I said, well, I guess so. I've been to one. And he's like, man, you must have done something right, because he's inviting you and your wife to come to his suite for NASCAR 5. It was a Samsung 500. And you're going to be in his suite. And so you did something right, pal. So, I'll get you all your passes. Then we'll be in the pits. Da, 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 da. Okay, great, awesome. And what's funny is my wife was like, I'm not going. I'm not watching NASCAR. Da, 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 da. I'm like, babe, we're sitting in their suite. No. So I took a buddy of mine, and we were playing semi-pro football at the time. I took one of my linemen. And what's funny is when we were down on the infield, The Rock was on the infield. And I was like, holy cow, is that The Rock? And he's like, oh, don't worry, he'll be up in the suite. He's the grand marshal. And so then I called my wife. I was like, oh my God, The Rock's going to be in our suite. She's like, you're lying. And yeah, he came up in the suite, and we all had these championship hats. Whoever won the race, whatever hats they got, we had. And man, just the coolest guy. Signed a couple of hats for each of my sons.
Cool.
And took a picture with him, and was just one of the most genuine guys you could ever meet. He was out doing the Scorpion King tour.
Oh, yeah.
Scorpion King was getting ready to come out, and he was out doing that. So, yeah, it was pretty cool. It was a great experience and great learning lesson for me. I'm a guy who cheats the system. As you read in my book, when I got out of the Air Force, our VP, I was selling mobile homes, and I got out of the Air Force to go play football with my little brother at Southeast Missouri State, and got signed up and was all ready to go. And one of my older friends from high school was like, Klund boy, like, you're not going to make it a semester. You're only going there to play football and chase girls. And, he was right. And I had no intentions I could care less about graduating college. And so he was like, don't waste your time. Why don't you come work for me? And he was selling manufactured homes at the time for one of the number one dealers in Southeast Missouri and actually Missouri, Farrell Mobile Homes. And even the owner of Farrell Mobile Homes, Glenn Farrell, was a great mentor to me coming up through the ranks. But we had a VP there, and she had just bought the tape cassettes of Anthony Robbins' Awaken the Giant. And she was like, hey, anybody want to stay after work with me? And we're going to listen to these tapes. And every guy was like, absolutely not. And, my mindset was like, why not? I'm new. What do I got to lose? I'm single, so I didn't have to run home to a wife and kids or anything. So I was like, I'll do it with you. And so we spent about 30 days listening to these cassettes every day and taking notes and talking about it. And really at the end of the book, we got done with all the cassettes. I was like, so basically what this guy's saying is find somebody who does what you want to do and just copy them. Am I getting this right? And she was like, yeah, that's pretty much what he's saying, ain't it? And I was like, that's kind of what it is. But we didn't have the tools we have nowadays, right? I mean,
yeah,
with the internet, and I mean, you have no reason not to be successful nowadays. And that's even what I tell the kids when I go to, talk at school. It's like, man, if you can't 4.0 in today's age, you're just lazy. You're just absolutely lazy, because there's no reason at this point you couldn't be a 4.0 student, whether it's in high school, college, wherever, because all you got to do is figure out what you're looking for, Google it, go to your Chat GPT, whatever, and get the answers immediately. But anyway, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where we do. We just cheat the system. We find out who's doing what you want to do, and that's what I do. I just go do it. So, but the was a great lesson for me on time, and not only my time, but other people's time. Right? I don't call people unless I have something I need to talk to them about, because their time is important. And I do spend a lot of my time talking to a lot of people, mentoring people. A lot of people will call me and, hey, can I take a little bit of your time? And of course, but when you get about 15 of those calls a day, sometimes they start adding up. But on the flip side, I feel like God gave me an opportunity to also be able to help out a little bit too. So I do feel like, to a certain extent, it is my responsibility to take those calls. But that's the reason why I get up at 3:45 every morning and get my workout, home workout in, and then I do some reading and And then I get in a little bit of scripture, and then you know, get my drinks in, my creatine and all the stuff I got to do, kiss the wife. Then I go get my actual lift in, and then I'm back here usually by about 8 o'clock every morning to get my day started.
Nice.
So I try to
No,
get
that's
knocked out before everybody else wakes up.
man, that's you're someone I want to copy and mimic. I think it's really cool everything that you do. I got to throw this out there. I used to work at Radio Shack, and I worked at Radio Shack during that exact time frame. And
Oh, good.
I was working there in 2002.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah,
of the
it
things
just
that
opened
kind
the Fort Worth office. The new corporate is phenomenal. Like I said, it was a really cool experience and a great
Yeah.
learning experience. And I think the biggest thing in life, like the number one thing for most people that they're scared of is death, right? The number two thing that they're most scared of is just failure. And what people don't realize, for me, they're like, what scares you? Death doesn't scare me. I mean, I can't. I'm almost excited. I've already died 4 times, like you said earlier. That's not no big deal. The only difference is I didn't get to wake up to see Jesus. He sent me back for some reason, so I had a bigger purpose, obviously. And then the second thing is failure. And failure, what people don't realize is, if you want to be successful, you better be real good at getting through failure, because you're going to have a ton more failure than you're going to have success. And people just don't realize that's part of the process. And I think a lot of people give up too early. They try and it doesn't work. They try, it doesn't work. And they're just like, well, I just can't do this. And what they don't realize is, again, like Tony Robbins will say, it takes 10 years from the time you start a company to the time it finally takes a turn, probably in your
Yeah.
favor. And so, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you just got to realize, like, it's going to be 5 to 10 years before I get over a corner here. And
Yep.
I got to be prepared to take the beating along the way, right? And if you can do that mentally and understand that, then you're going to be all right. You'll be able to get through and be successful.
Yeah. So I started podcasting in 2014 at a sports podcast. So I've been podcasting for over 12 years.
Yeah.
This podcast specifically, I've had since January of 2018. So it just turned 8. And people ask me, well, how'd you get this person on your show? How'd you get that person? Well, I've been doing it for 8 years. I
Right.
mean, it's just,
It's
or
always about who you know. And again, kind of like,
yeah,
showing up to, being able to go, look, I don't know if a lot of people might not have the money to come Celebrity Weekend, right? Because everybody pays their own way, even celebrities, which is unheard of, right? But, work with the celebrities that I've worked with for so long, and I've done a ton of stuff for different celebrities. I've never charged them a dime. So a lot of them is all relationships, why they come and participate, and, you don't have to pay me. And, and it's also the cause, right? The also part of it is I don't want to miss the fun, because I don't want to be the guy that ends up hearing about the party and missing it. So once they come, they always come. But here's the thing. There's still an investment where you have to go from your standpoint going, I've heard about this guy from Sky Husing. I've heard about this event. I've never been to this event. It's going to cost me X to go to this event. Do I want to invest the money to even take it? And I don't know hardly anybody there. I'm pretty much coming in on by myself. But
yeah,
you
I
know
didn't know
what?
anyone.
I'm doing. I'm going. I'm going to invest the money. I'm going to invest the time, and I'm going to go. And then, look what happened, right? Look at the people you met. Look at and again, you only got to meet probably 10% of everybody, because the first year you come in, you're kind of like, oh my God, what do I do? Which direction do I go? Who do I even talk to? I don't want to bother anybody. And then by the end of the weekend, you find out, like, oh, everybody's so cool. Everybody's so open. Everybody's so, now this coming year, it's going to be even 10 times better for you this year, right? Because now you already have a ton of relationships when you hit the ground running, and you're going to be able to talk to people and get introduced to even more people. And that's just kind of how it works. But again, if you don't take the time to take the investment in yourself, the chances of winning is zero, right?
Yeah,
And how
and
many
that's one
people
thing.
from that event have you got to meet, and how many of those people are already opening doors for you as well? That's going to take you from here now to here.
Yeah,
Just from the people you met at Celebrity Weekend, right? So
exactly.
that's
Yep.
what's fun about Celebrity Weekend for me. I love to see. I'm an underdog guy, so I love to see people that have the passion and the work ethic to do it. Just need a little bit of help on getting some doors open on relationship side.
Yeah, that's definitely me. And I want to do something fun and help people. And I do feel like God has put me in a place to connect people. I feel like that's a skill set that I have, and I connect people, through this podcast, and it's what I'm passionate about. And
And I love it. I think you're definitely on the right track, like we've talked about.
yeah,
Again, here's my thing. If It's not about the money. Everybody always thinks about the money. And my thing is, if you chase the money, then you're really not chasing your passion. If you chase the passion, the money will show up. That it's always happened, right? For me, I've left unbelievable jobs that people would have been like, "You're an absolute nut job for leaving that career."
Yeah, I've heard some of those numbers so that I'm familiar with some of those salaries that you turned down in the 90s. Like
Yeah, I mean,
some of the
it's just,
salaries that you
if
walked
this,
away from.
there's some ethics about me that if I
Yeah.
just am not happy about it, I don't know how much time we have. I'll give you probably one of the best pieces of advice I ever got. And it's from Joe Depinto, and at the time he's CEO of 7-Eleven, and
I
he,
was going to bring that up, but please go. Please
yeah.
go.
So
Yeah.
Joe Depinto, I met him at a celebrity game for the Winter Warrior amputee softball team, which is now the USA Patriots. But Kevin Minch and I put some celebrities together to play them, literally in just a wrecked ballpark field. And Joe Depinto is a West Point graduate. I didn't know that at the time. I really didn't even know who Joe Depinto was, to be honest with you. And he threw out the first pitch, and I'm kind of still getting my cleats on. And he came and sat by me in the dugout. And hey, I'm Joe. Hey, I'm TK. And who are you? What do you do? Oh, I'm Air Force veteran. I said, you didn't serve, did you? He goes, yeah, I went to West Point. I said, oh man, okay, cool. And now you're CEO of 7-Eleven. Now he's like chairman of the board for the entire brand, all the brands that 7-Eleven's under and everybody else. But just one of the coolest guys. Well, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm a VP, corporate America. And how many people you got working underneath you? And at that time, I think it was like 150 or so. And he's like, oh, so they work for you? And I was like, yes, sir. Again, I'm tying my shoes and trying to get ready, and I'm kind of back and forth with him. And, everybody's already out there warming up and throwing, and I'm trying to, get going. And, again, it's like, great, CEO of 7-Eleven, who cares? But, it was kind of my mindset at the time. He keeps on, oh, so they work for you, huh? And I was like, yes, sir. And he goes, so you have 150 people? Yes. And they all work for you? Yes, sir. Huh. So you're telling me they work for you? I mean, it's just that. And I stopped and I looked at him. I was like, what am I missing? And actually I was like, Joey D, what am I missing? And he's like, well, you're a youngster. You care if I give you some help, maybe some insight on what could help you as a good leader? I was like, 100%. And he's like, those people don't work for you. And I'm thinking in my head, like, well, wait a minute, I'm the boss, so they don't work for me. Who do they work for? And he's like, do you really want to be successful in corporate America in life? And I was like, yes, sir. He goes, well, here's the thing. Those people don't work for you. You work for them. It's your job every single day to come in and make them successful. That's the only thing on your plate. That's your only job. And he was like, and not only make them successful, you owe it to their spouses and families to make them successful, because they're spending more time with you than they are with their families. So you want to make sure that the time they're away from their family, they're making the absolute most money they can make for that time away from their family. And that's your job. That's your only job. And when he told me that, I became a completely different animal in corporate America. From the way I looked at things, I was always taught the fear factor, do your job or you're getting fired. It changed all my philosophy on working with individuals and the team concept and corporate America. And we became very, very successful. And then, the funny thing is he slapped me on my knee and stood up. He goes, the good thing is you only have 150 people every day you have to figure out how to make successful. When I'm driving to work, I'm trying to figure out how I make 42,000 people successful every day. And he's like, and I've got not only the people I work for, he goes, I work for two sets of people. I work for all 42,000 people that are underneath me, and I work for all the shareholders and board members that are above me. So, even as CEO of 7-Eleven, you think I'm on easy street. I'm between two rocks every single day. I'm making sure not only am I making people successful, but I'm also making people happy. And that's when it was like, wham, just like took my head off my shoulders. And it's been an awesome experience. Gave me his card, been a good friend ever since. And, it's kind of funny because when I would call him at his corporate line a couple of years later, his secretary, hey, is Joey D in there? And she was just quiet. She's like, Mr. Depinto?
Mr. Depinto.
Yeah, Joey D. And she's like, who is this? And I told her, and she's like, yeah, most people don't call him Joey D. And I'm like, sweetheart, That's what I called him from day one, and he's accepted it. So
That's awesome.
is he in there? And he got on the phone. He's just dying laughing. He's like, TK, what's going on, my man? Just again, most cordial, nicest guy you ever meet. And again, I heard you and Ray Cashcare on the podcast talking about Brad Lee, same guy. With I don't even know how many hundreds of millions he's worth. Actually,
Ray Cash, the
one of
cement gazillionaire is the.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty close. A lot of people don't know him and Grant Cardone do a lot of stuff together, and but Brad Lee's same way. Every time I text him, he responds. Every time I call him, he picks up. He came and played in a celebrity game this year.
You were on his podcast.
Yeah, I was on dropping bombs, and actually, worst podcast I ever did because he and I were just all over. Like we were just having conversation. We were all over the place, and by the time we got done, and I was rushing to get to the airport, and we kind of started late, and by the time we were done, we both kind of looked at each other and go, "Man, I don't even know if we can even air the stuff we were talking about." And I was like, "Dude, just throw it in the freaking scrap heap." And he was like, "No, I'll find a couple good pieces out there and we'll post those." He goes, "I'm definitely not posting the whole thing because I kind of feel like you. I wasn't on my A game today." And so it was kind of funny. We kind of laughed about it. So even then, I flew to Vegas. I left on the first flight to Vegas, got there. He was running late, sat around the green room for an hour and a half. He came in. I'm like, "Dude, I've got to be at the airport in like an hour and a half to catch my flight back home today." And so then we kind of just rushed. We were talking and rushing, and it was just all over the place. But again, it's laughable, right? I mean, me and him, we were just kind of at that level. We're just like, "I'm just so glad I got to come out here and meet you more than anything. I can give two shits about this podcast. I just want to come and meet you and get to know you." And he was like, "Dude, same thing." But yeah, I was on his podcast, but he's the same way. I mean, most people, if you're at a level where you can help somebody, I think it's your responsibility to, not be a douchebag. If you're somebody who has money and you're a douchebag, you didn't start at the top.
Yeah.
It took a lot of people to help you get to where you are. Like for me, in my success, I tell people like relationships is my number one bank account. And it always has been. And I grew up a street kid, single parent home. I was running with the older kids on the streets, doing things I wasn't supposed to be probably doing. Not overly bad things, just, not overly good things either. And even in school, I tell people probably if it wasn't for sports and girls, I'd have dropped out of school about the 5th grade because school was so boring to me. And I realize nowadays why it was because it was just nothing of interest to me. Things that interest me, man, I can dig in a book all day on that. I can sit and watch it on a YouTube channel or whatever. But again, if it's something that's helping TK that can help other people, that can help my family, I'm all in on that deal. But just sitting in the classroom, blah, 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 I couldn't do it. So, but that's the thing with certain people, man. Like, I think when you get to a certain level, you'll see that most people of success are very, very cordial, very laid back, and just normal, regular people.
Hey, everyone. I want to take a quick break from today's episode to talk about the show's sponsor. Are you retiring or separating from the military soon? Looking for an alternative to the Veterans Group Life Insurance, also known as the VGLY? Reach out to Dan Guzman Life Solutions. Dan is a 27-year United States Air Force veteran and retired command chief. After a lifetime of service, Dan's mission is simple: protect yours. As an independent life insurance producer licensed across multiple states, Dan specializes in helping military families find smart, affordable, term life alternatives to VGLY and insurance policies that fit your life and budget. If you want coverage that makes sense, reach out today at danguzmanlifesolutions.com. The link for that will be in the show notes. Now back to the episode. Yeah, and I had the opportunity to talk to Brad, and he actually gave me a cell phone number at the game, and I was like, man, this is crazy, because I've been following his podcast and his content for a long time as well. And yeah, I think the gazillionaire quote is
it could be a little intimidating. Somebody before the game called me and said, "Hey, a friend of mine, I was telling him about the game. He wants me to give you all his information, so I'm going to send you his card." I'm like, "Who is it?" It's like Elon. Well, there's only one Elon I've ever heard of. I'm like, "Elon who?" He's like, "Musk down in Austin." Like, "I'm getting ready to send you his contact card." And I probably had his contact card in my phone for probably a month before I even sent the text. I was just like, I can't do it. And then I finally was like, what the hell I got to lose? He told the guy to send it to me. I got it all. Let me send him a text. Now he never responded, but at least I finally was like, who cares? Let's do it. Right. So
Yeah.
sometimes you just kind of got to get over the fact too, that, it's just another individual.
I'm gonna
Um,
text Bradley after this because I haven't done it, and and like he did give me
yeah,
his
it
number.
ain't no big deal. Just send him a text and say, hey man, just remind him who you are. And,
Yeah.
and, you'd love to have him on your show and vice versa.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
That's it. It's easy.
I want to talk about the man. So I have bullet points, things I was gonna bring up. One was the Tony Robbins cassette tapes, which you brought up. The other was Joe Depinto, the 7-Eleven CEO. So that's it's like you're in my mind, TK. Like we're on the same wavelength.
As you know, I've done enough of these, so I try to throw out the best tidbits I can for people to kind of get
Yeah.
some of the best tidbits out of it.
Well, I'm hoping this one has a pretty good clip. But you died 4 times,
Yeah.
which is insane. Just reflecting back, what illusions about life did that permanently destroy?
There's a couple of things. Growing up, I had great parents, but what you learn is success is by design. So my mom and dad, when my dad got out of the Army, my grandfather was driving long haul. So when my dad got out of the Army, he was a MP, a military policeman in the Army. Didn't want to be a policeman in real, in civilian world. So again, with who he knew, my grandfather, he went into long haul driving. My mom in the 70s she was great at typewriter. She was a transcriptionist and she went into that. But they never really had any outside influences or any really brands of influence, that they could hang out with or speak with and so when I was coming up through high school, it literally was you either getting a scholarship, you're going to the military, or you're going to go find a job. But at 18 years old, you're out of this house. And my dad started telling me that probably in 8th or ninth grade. And, but again, it was just, party. But even then, there wasn't enough mentorship even with my house because I was the oldest. My dad didn't really understand how the game was of like, you got to hit these books. I'm not going to let you go out running with those older guys. He kind of gave me all the rope I needed to kind of hang myself, to be honest with you. So same thing for me as I was coming up, again, cheating the system. I would always lock into somebody who was great at what they were doing, or, like in the Air Force, one of my mentors, we ended up living together. Howie Gomes, he was a lot older than me. He's about 10 years older than me. And just, man, like an unbelievable big brother out of the gate for me, and taught me so much about life, and even in the Air Force, how to, worth ethic, and how we manage people, and just unbelievable. Then when I got out of the Air Force, I had some older friends, like I said, from high school that kind of directed me back into mobile home world, and then Glenn Farrell, who learned through his dad how to run a successful company and organization. He really spent a lot of time with me when I was 25, 26. Educate me. And then because some other people I knew, they were, people were recruiting me here and there because people would refer me to people. And then, so I kind of was just going up the ladder like that. And again, everywhere I went, I was just, who's the smartest person here? That's who I need to lock into. Who's making the most money? How are they doing it? Let me lock into them. So again, I just would cheat. A lot of people think of that term as a bad thing. It's actually a great thing. There's no reason to have to do it all on your own. If somebody's already been successful, already kind of have paved the road for you, man, just go see how they did it, what they did, and ask questions.
Yeah.
And so that kind of got me down to Texas. And then, for some reason we had to go in, and we were 7 days a week, and man, I was exhausted already. We went in real early on a Saturday morning, and then I had a birthday the following weekend, and one of my old sales managers from the wholesale side had moved to Texas, and I went and had drinks and dinner with him and his wife, and up in Frisco, came all the way back to Texas, met some other buddies of mine, actually heading home, and I called Jessica and told her I was on my way, and I was probably 10 minutes from home, and she's like, "You been drinking a lot?" And I said, "No, I've had a few drinks." She's like, You kind of sound like you're just out of it. I said, I'm so exhausted. I'm so just worn out. And she's like, do you have your seatbelt on? And I didn't. And I clicked my seatbelt in, and I put in Dean Martin in my CD, coming home to have some romance, or I thought, and fell right asleep. And that was it. And I woke up in
Mm.
ICU, and they had contacted her and contacted my little brother, and who contacted my family, and basically let them know, like, he's not going to make it. We're going to keep him on life support till y'all get here. But they had to revive me 4 times. They had to revive me on the scene. They had to revive me on the care flight, from what they said. In ER, once I got to the ER, they had to revive me a couple of times. So the thing is, leading up to that, I'd always had a certain expectation of myself that everybody who was hiring me, everybody I was busting my ass for, was doing me a favor. I didn't have a high value of myself, because my mindset and what I've always been told is, you're not an A student. You weren't an A student. You don't have a college education. You're probably not you're not obviously smart if you don't have those things. There's a lot of factors that people had told me that I believed. And so I always actually held myself back even. And then in the hospital room, I was kind of whining and crying to my mom a little bit about, like, oh, I'm going to have to do this. And, I don't even know if I'm going to go back to that job. And, my mom, the one person who'd worked at the same typewriter and desk for her whole career, when she was like, hey, it seems to me with how good you're doing, like, you could be great at anything you do. And that's kind of when it popped off on me, like, wait a minute, what did she just say? Because this lady's the lady who, every time I'd leave a job to go down to get even a bigger opportunity, and sometimes I would take a loss to go for a bigger opportunity. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. She would always be like, oh my God, I can't believe you're leaving that job. Da, 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 da. And so when she was the one who told me that, it really kind of damn near made me sit up in my bed. And then when I was at home afterwards, waiting to get, my senses back, the bells in my head quit ringing, I was watching Jerry Maguire, and Jessica came home, and she was like, are you going back? And I can't do 7 days. And I was like, I literally had my face replaced on my 30th birthday, October 30th, 2000. And on my 30th birthday, I had my face replaced, and or my forehead and this eye socket. So I was like, I can't do that anymore. She said, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't really know. And I said, I want to be a Jerry Maguire. She was like, oh my God, you got brain damage. Like, you don't even know an athlete. You don't even freaking have a degree. You're not an attorney. Like, don't take this personal, but like, what are we going to do for money? And I was like, I have no idea. I just want to go do something I think would be fun, that I think I would be really good at. And I'm a big guy now into manifestation from a spiritual standpoint of basically wishing anything in existence that I want. And over probably the last 5 years, it just keeps getting stronger and stronger every year. But, that's kind of where I set my goal. And it wasn't long after that I met Lemuel Stetson from Chicago Bears, number 32. Through a semi-pro football team. He and I started doing stuff together. He started introducing me to everybody else, and that's kind of where it took off from working with pro athletes side, retired guys first, and then and Stetson had such a strong name with everybody. I mean, he's just such an impeccable guy. Everybody loves him. So I couldn't have got a better guy to start working with to begin with. Then a friend of mine from the old mobile home days called me, said, you going back to mobile homes? No. Come here. We got a VP spot for you. It's Monday through Friday. And that was the thing that was exciting to me, was just having my weekends. My oldest son was 5. My youngest son had just turned 2 during my accident. And it was like, I want to be around my family. And when you're 7 days a week, 14-hour days, it's exhausting. The money's great, but everything else is just like, what are you doing it for, right?
Yeah.
So those two things kind of took off my career in the corporate world again, and then my career working with pro athletes and celebrities, and again, just taking risk. I did a Super Bowl party in Jacksonville in 2004 or 5, whenever it was in 2005, and we were voted the number 1 Super Bowl party by Detroit Free Press. We did Rayfield Wright's Hall of Fame party at Canton when he went in 06. We had 4 parties in Miami during Super Bowl that weekend. And then that's kind of when we were like, man, we've done enough. We built our brand. We know enough people. We don't need to really do these events all over the place anymore. And then again, at Super Bowl in Jacksonville is when I met Julius Jones, who was a current running back of the Cowboys at that point.
I remember.
all the other current Cowboys at that point. That's how I started working with all the current players. And then those guys
Yeah.
would their teams and they would send me people. And, and again, most of it was just helping them with their name branding, getting them involved with charities, getting them, out in the community, helping them build their brand that they could get, sponsors and donors to, start bringing them in. So then in '08, the big thing that changed me, '07 leading up to '08, the economy started taking a hit. Our corporate got rid of our customer service VP, wasn't making much, probably 125 grand, but we get him off the books. We can just give his right hand person a little bit of money. She can kind of run that division. And I remember when I went in, he was just absolutely throwing a fit. And I was 35 or 36 at the time. And I was his boss, but really he was a mentor of mine too. He was 55, and a lot of things we did, I would go into him and go, "Hey, what do you think?
Yeah.
Would you like to see?" And I went and made it happen, right? So I went in and said, "Dude, calm down. Don't leave like this. Blah blah blah. You're a stud. You got your education. You're not gonna have any problem getting a job." And he was like, "Man, I'm done. Worst time in American history to lose this position. Nobody's gonna hire me." And he was the one who really was like, "Look, I've done everything right." In high school, they said, get the grades, you go to a good college. I did that. I went to a good college, get your degree. I did that. In college, they're like, once you get your college degree, get a good job, get married, have kids. He goes, "Man, I've checked every single box. I've done every single thing that I'm supposed to do to be successful. And now I'm 55 years old. I don't have anything. I've worked my ass off for all these people. And I'm supposed to feel grateful that they let me have 2 weeks off a year. And I'm leaving with nothing. And what am I going to do?" And he was like, "Do not let this happen to you. You got too many great things going on. You don't need corporate. They need you. Everything you're doing with pro athletes and celebrities, like, you don't need these guys." And when he hit me with that, and like, again, because that was a job that I was like, "Oh, I'm retiring here. The money's phenomenal. The shareholders let me do whatever I want. It's perfect opportunity, right?" Since that day, I hated driving to work because the reality of the corporate game was unveiled to me. And I didn't want to be a slave to the corporate and be in his shoes at 55 years old. And
Yeah.
probably a year later, the shareholders brought me in and they're like, "Hey, we got to get rid of half this company." And that's in '08, June 2nd of 2008. And I said, "Great, start with me. I'm out of here. I'm not firing anybody." And they were literally fighting with me and arguing with me that, I couldn't leave. And yes, I am firing half the company. And yeah, that's when I left, and I've never looked back. So since June 2nd of 2008, I've been on my own. Um, I would tell you, it's been the best of both worlds. It's been ass kicking. It's been absolutely phenomenal. But I wouldn't have traded it, because what it did give me is the freedom to actually enjoy my family, enjoy my kids, and actually control my own destiny more than anything, right?
Yeah.
So
And
that's the biggest thing, right? It's all about quality of life. A lot of people look at quality of life. I got to have a bunch of money, and I got to do this. I got to do this quality of life, and for me to have quality of life. And it's kind of like, life is short, man. You got to find that balance of generating revenue, but also having the time to spend with your family, but also having time to actually enjoy the time with your family and take trips and control your own destiny. And for me, that's where I got to be. That's not for everybody, I promise you, being an entrepreneur. But for me, I couldn't sit in a boardroom anymore. It would absolutely drive me nuts.
Yeah, and that's where I've had some job offerings and stuff. But so I just retired after 23 years,
Oh,
and I want my freedom. I want my time. I want my quality of life with my family. I walk my son to the bus stop, to and from every day.
yeah.
I,
So it's some of the greatest things, right? And it's just, I tell people, I had a young model. She's 26, called me last week, just was, "Hey, somebody referred me, I got some questions." And, I started digging a little. She's valedictorian of her graduating class from college. Again, beautiful, smart, wants to be an entrepreneur. But she's kind of locked in on this model thing. And I'm like, "Well, why don't you start your own brand and be the model for your own brand of what you want to do?" And if you start now, by the time you're 40, where would you be? And I tell a lot of people, like, when they call me and ask me, I always find their age and go, "Okay, well, at 40, if you start now, 40 years old, you're probably going to be where you want to be, right?" But the thing is, for me, and I'll go a little spiritual real quick with you, because I think it's important for people to understand it. I only heard this a few years ago, and I wish I would have heard this early on in my life. Not that it would have helped me then, but it could have. The thing is with this life is that we're spiritual creation, right? And so Moses, standing in front of the burning bush, asked God who he was. Who do I tell him that you are? And God said, I am of the I am, which is on the beginning and the end, right? God created he's everything. And so God made us the I am of the I am. We're the I am of the I am, if that makes sense. So God created us in his image. Everything in our bodies from him, everything, our spirit, everything is through him. So I tell people what God gave you as the I am of your I am is the opportunity to create your own universe, right? How do you see your life? What do you want to see your life? Because God's giving you that ability through him to do that. So that's why I tell people, like, I tell my kids, my wife all the time, like, don't ever say I am and put something negative behind it. You know, like my wife, after her knee surgery, she had a knee replacement a couple of years. Oh, I'm getting fat. I go, you will be if you keep on saying I am, and your mind is going to remember that you are getting fat and it's going to keep packing weight.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be chunky, you better not say that, because that's what's going to happen, right? Or I am sad, or I am mad, or you probably will be, right? Or I am broke, or if you turn that around and I'm grateful, I'm thankful, I'm happy, I'm blessed, I'm smart, you start doing that, guess what's going to happen? That's going to also follow you, because the universe will draw that to you as well. So now, with that being said, I tell people when they call me about their careers or where they want to be, I tell them, like, let me ask you this. Let's take an easy step. If you find the genie lamp and you get one wish, you get to rub the lamp and you get one wish of who you want to be. What is it? What's your wish? And that's the problem for most people too. They don't even know who they want to be. Like, I don't really know who I want to be. Well, that's probably where you need to start. If you had the opportunity to, literally write down on a piece of paper your perfect life, what would be your perfect life? That's where you start. And then you reverse engineer back. How do I get to it? Right? But God's given us all the tools we need to do really anything we want to on this planet, as long as it's through him. So, because again, he's the one who's given you the opportunity. You're the I am of the I am, and you're the I am of your own I am of creation, of, your own destiny. So if people will start focusing on that, and again, that's why I said I don't get overly down if something bad, negative happens. I don't get overly too excited. I'll take a victory lap, but that was yesterday. Today's a whole brand new day. I don't riding on that victory from yesterday today. Today's a whole new day. Or if something negative happened yesterday, that was yesterday. Today's a brand new day. I got a brand new canvas I can start painting on today. I'm not going to bring over that dread from yesterday. I'm not bringing over that victory from yesterday. Again, that was yesterday. And I'm back to square one every single day in my book. Like, again, it's what do I got to accomplish today? What's my goals for today? What do I need to do to be successful? But I literally look at my life like a quarterback or an offensive player, coordinator. I'm here today, but I'm also, what am I doing on second down, third down, fourth down, fifth down? What am I doing here? So even though I'm here, I'm already also looking here. But then the final thing I'll tell everybody is, and a veteran told me this a few years ago, after listening to him for about an hour, telling me some things he's going through. At the end of it, he told me, he's like, TK, at the end of the day, I just need to be grateful for what I have, because God doesn't promise you tomorrow. And like in Exodus, he only gives you what you need for today. And I need to be grateful. And that really hit me hard too, because a lot of times we miss all the blessings of our day because we're already focused on tomorrow, next week, next month, next whatever. Right? And what that does, it takes, when your focus is down here, it takes you away from your focus of what you're receiving today. And so you miss it. So that's the other thing. I know what I need to do down here. I know what's in my schedule. Very seldom I'll mess up like we did yesterday on this podcast, but very seldom I'll mess up on my schedule. But once it's on my schedule, I don't worry about it. I want to enjoy this. I want to enjoy my time from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, and every minute in between, good or bad, I'm still going to enjoy it. And at the end of the day, like, we've gone through some tough times, my wife and I, financially, because of being an entrepreneur. It's not easy. And, we'll lay in bed and I'll ask her, well, let me ask you something. Tell me something today that God did not provide for you. Did you eat today? Yeah. Does your Denali have gas in it? Yeah. Do you have heat or air conditioning in this house? Yeah. Do you have a house? Yeah. You got a bed? You kind of start running through, and it gets redundant when you start. You got food in the fridge, got food in the pantry. Were you able to wash your clothes? What are you talking about? Like at the end of the day, God provided. He did what he promised, right? He was going to give you everything you needed today. He did, right? Yeah. So what are you worried about tomorrow for, right? And then the one thing I'll tell everybody that has really helped me and my wife over the last few years is really just locking arms ourselves on a partnership. And we pray every morning before she goes to work or before I leave, and we pray every night together before we go to bed. And that's been another unbelievable experience for us in just the appreciation of our marriage, right?
That's
Which I
great.
think a lot of people, when you're married, you just have a tendency like everything just gets comfortable and you quit paying attention to what you got to do to keep making everything successful, right? So whether it's working out, if you're not eating properly and not working out properly, you're probably going to be a place you don't want to be. If you're not taking care of your marriage like you should be, taking care of your wife or taking care of your husband, doing what you got to do, everything to be successful is work. And that's why there's so many, there's just not that many successful people when you really look at it, because a lot of people just don't want to have to put, like, it's work every single day. Like every single thing you do in your life, every single thing you have going on in your life is work, and you have to make time
TK,
for
there's been people like you've seen some of the people. Kurt Warner was on my podcast last year. Nate, I mean, there's a long list, right? Top military leaders, and people ask, "Well, how'd you get this person?" Like, well, it's different for each person, each guest, but it was work. And I've had people
Right.
like, "Well, can you get them on my podcast?" And I'm like, "You
Oh,
haven't
yeah.
done any work for it. Like, I'm not just going to give you that directory for free,
Right.
or it, they're not putting, or
Well,
I've done the work."
everybody wants the easy way, right? And the problem
Yeah,
is that you don't appreciate if you don't put the work in. And that's
yeah,
the problem with, and that's how you can enjoy your failures is if, hey, I'm still working my rear end off. It just didn't happen to go my way. And again, I always go back to sports. It's like playing a football game. You completely lost the first half and come back and win the second half and win the game.
yeah.
Every down is just a moment in time in your life. Sometimes it's going to be positive, sometimes it's going to be negative, but you got to keep playing the game, right? But yeah, I mean, people don't understand it's work. I mean, trust me, the phone calls you get, take that, multiply that by about 100 of everybody. Hey,
Yeah, I can
oh,
only
can you get
imagine
my
for you.
apartment? Can you
Yeah.
get deals? Can you get, you're like, no. And the thing is like there's certain people for me, again, I like the underdogs. So when you reached out to me originally from Scott Husing, obviously Scott Husing's my brother, and I take anybody he sends me to a high level because Scott don't just send you anybody. So when he's like, hey, I want you to talk to this guy, Martin, you're going to like him. He's Air Force guy. Great. Send him to me. When I can hear your passion, what you're trying to accomplish, what you're trying to do, that's the reason why it's like, dude, come to the game, because you're going to get to meet a lot of good people, a lot of great people, really, that once you talk to and meet with them, you're going to be able to probably get them on your show, like a Ray Cash Care and other people. But the other thing is, like I think I told you, I have another friend from high school that was there doing videos. I'm like, man, just walk up and tell them you're with TK, that you grew up with me, and that TK asked if you can come on and get an interview with them. They're going to say yes.
That's what I did. I said,
And
"Hey, I'm here doing some interviews for,
no,
I'm with TK," and it's just like, "All right, well,
yeah, and I don't give that very often to people going, hey, just go
I
ahead and go, just
appreciate
tell me
it."
you're with TK, right? But again, when people do that, then they go, okay, well, he's TK approved or she's TK approved, and no big deal at this point, right? So, but again, it is helping other people. It is a Zig Ziglar formula of, you can't be successful unless you're helping other people be successful. But there is a point where other people are trying to take advantage of the opportunity and not actually working for it. There is two sides of that coin. And I have been burnt by a lot of people. That's why I am very cautious with my contacts, because I have been where I've tried to help people, and then my contact calls me back and goes, man, why the hell did you send that person? Like, this is what this person's trying to do. And you're like, what? And then I got to call that person and go, good luck to you. Don't ever call me again. I mean, it is what it is. And there is no secret formula in life except get up every day with a heart full of gratitude and thankfulness of, okay, here I am. Let's get the day going. And put a plan in place and work your plan every single day. And then at the end of the day, put your plan together for the next day. So when you wake up, you already know your yesterday already reminds you what you got to do today. And again, you're back into it. There's never a day off. It's a constant grind. but it could be a fun grind. And for me, that's what
Yeah.
it is. It's a fun grind for me. Is competition with me is me versus me. How much more can I get out of me while I'm down here on this planet? How much more can I do to help others? How much more can I, so for me personally, even how much more can I get out of my body? I'm probably in better shape now than I was when I was in my 20s. But
You look
finally,
great. I remember seeing you
I
at the
appreciate it.
yes, at the pool party. That was
Yeah, I mean, I
amazing.
just, again, I've quit eating the junk, and again,
Yeah.
but now it's kind of like I'm just at that age that I wish I wasn't so lazy when I was younger, because everything kind of came to me easily when I was younger. I didn't have to work for a lot of it.
Yeah.
Um, and I wish I would have worked harder, even though it was coming easily. I wish I would have worked harder to really take advantage of those opportunities when they came. And I'll probably be farther down the line. But again, this is the destiny God's got me on, and the learning experience He has me on. And I'm just hoping that some of my, life experiences can help other people kind of get to their finish line faster as well. And that's kind
Yeah,
of what,
exactly.
you read my book, you know, um, Stop Whining, Start Winning. And uh, that's kind of what that is. It's just, I kind of wrote that for kids in high school, young adults, college. As you know, it's a simple read, super easy read. I mean, you got
Yeah.
a third grade educated guy reading it or writing it. So I wanted to make it super easy for people to read and understand, and just give them an opportunity of hope. It's it's still hard work, but if you just kind of focus up, everything is actually achievable. Like if you believe in it, you can get it.
That's awesome. Just wrapping up, I want to just ask some miscellaneous questions. There's no rhyme or reason, just meant to be fun.
Fire away, brother.
Um, yeah, one of which is a name game. So I'm just gonna say a name. So just say one word that comes to mind when you hear the person's name. The first one is actually Scott Husing.
Brilliant would be Husing. He's just a brilliant individual. He's super. His intellect is off the scales. As a major in the U.S. Marine Corps, as a author who wrote, Echo and Ramadi, a guy who, as an officer, wasn't supposed to go in kicking in doors with the troops. He was supposed to stay back at base camp and said, I'm going to be
Yeah,
kicked out the doors. He's just that guy. And
yeah,
he's a very loyal guy, as you know, and a very, again, if he likes you, he'll open his world up to you. If he doesn't like you, you probably won't hear from him again.
no, it's good. Big fan of Scott. He's gonna be on the pod at some point. All
Great
right.
guy. I'm glad he moved from California. He literally lives about probably 10 minutes from me
Yeah,
out here.
I was gonna reach
I'm,
back out
I'm
to him over
really
the
really
past
excited to be out here. Yeah.
yeah, in the next couple of weeks I'm gonna reach out to him, chat with him. All right, the next name, what's a word, one word that comes to mind when you hear the name the DOC?
Legend. The DOC is one of my favorite friends. We do a ton of stuff together, and we always have good laughs, and but we always have a lot of serious conversations. But we both we have a relationship that there's things I can tell Doc that I don't tell a lot of people, and vice versa.
Yeah,
I know it's not going to go any farther than Doc, and vice versa. And with Radcliffe, even being a part of that for years, but really kind of getting back into it over the last couple of years when I went back to England. My partner over there was like, "Hey, you think we can find a Ryan Reynolds for our team?" And of course, he threw out Matthew McConaughey. I don't know, Matthew's a little bit too big for us, bro. But let me think about who would be a good ambassador for Radcliffe. And Radcliffe,
yeah,
outside of Manchester, is a working man community. It's really, it's a tough community, and I thought, man, the DOC would be the perfect guy for that. And yeah, I mean, the fans over there love him. He loves it. I'm going to Jimmy Maxine coming up this week for Super Bowl. He's actually going over there for some things we're doing with Radcliffe, but I won't get to go with him on this trip. But yeah, he's a legend, man. He's just phenomenal.
that's awesome. Last couple of questions. If there was a giant billboard with your picture on it for the world to see, what would you want that short billboard message to say? And where would you want that billboard message to be?
Uh, Honestly, again, I've got a face made for radio. I
No,
really wouldn't want
stop.
my face on a billboard, but I don't know, man. I tell you what, there wouldn't be anything important. I'd probably be like more of an Al Davis, just win, baby, would be my probably
Nice.
slogan on it more than anything. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. It's kind of funny. My wife and I went through this couples class for church. She's always been wanting to go through, and finally it's like, okay, let's do it. And what it really kind of showed me and told me is probably one of the biggest things for me, um, both good and bad, that, what would you say your worst habit is, or I guess something to that effect. And for me, it's always been a getting attention. I've always been a class clown. I always want to be having fun everywhere I go. I want to raise people's spirits when I'm in the room. But I love attention. And
Yeah.
it's kind of funny. I never realized it. Honestly, I just thought that was me being me. And then I started thinking about it. And then it's kind of like when I started thinking about it more and more, I thought, man, I like to do all that, but I don't really see myself as that guy on the billboard or any of that. I like to just, the older I'm getting too, I kind of like to just stay in the shadows more and more.
Yeah.
Even on my social media, if anybody looks at my social media, I try to put things out there that are positive, inspirational, motivational. I try to keep politics and all the craziness off my timeline, because it doesn't matter anyway, right? At the end of the day, what my politic beliefs are or anything like that. And I kind of believe that we should get back to the 70s and 80s when, politics and your sexual habits were kept in your bedroom. You didn't talk about all that stuff. And so, yeah, man, I don't think I would want to be on a billboard, to be honest with you. I like to be in the shadows and just kind of have fun. And, I've been around celebrity world for over 25 years. And I tell people all the time, I would never want to be a celebrity. There's no winning in being a celebrity. And, you talk about just a drain. It's not easy being somebody that people recognize. And I've been around a lot of people that, we'll be in a restaurant together and, man, you can't even have a dinner because everybody keeps coming up. And, that's part of it to a certain extent. But, it also comes to a price of just privacy, right?
Yeah.
And now the older I'm getting, I'm kind of going, I'd rather be in the background, just helping.
I hear that. Last question. What can I do for you? How can I best serve you?
You already did, having me on your show. That's about it.
The honor was mine.
Yeah, no, just having me on your show is great, and I appreciate it. And there's not a lot of things anybody can really do for TK that he wouldn't be doing for himself. So, I'm kind of the opposite. If I can help anybody, let me know. Send me a text, whatever. If I can help out, I will do it. But yeah, overall, no. I'm just except my wife is kind of excited. She's like, "Oh, you're finally getting old." Meaning that I'm more slowing down. I don't do the events all the events I used to do. I'm not on the crazy train I usually am for the last 25 years of trying to be everywhere all the time and I just kind of enjoy again kind of being in the home office and kind of discreetly going out and doing what I do and showing up to some events when they don't expect me to be there and just kind of enjoying life doing that. So it's nice.
Well, TK, thank you so much for being on my podcast. It's an honor.
Hopefully we spewed out some good stuff for some people.
I think so.
Chew on.
But I appreciate you.